Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, what's up, Dynasty owners? This is Matt the Jerk here with your weekly contract video. So today we're going to be talking about the 49ers. Before we get into it, let's first talk about some breaking news we've had. We're going to start with Deshaun Watson news. So we know that Deshaun Watson is unhappy in his current situation. He signed a 4-year, $156 million contract in September. That's $39 million per year. Like I said, we know he's unhappy. It's very public knowledge. It's not even rumors anymore at this point. It's become news. He has a no-trade clause, so he would control his own destiny. There's a few teams that are rumored. The Dolphins are a big one. They do have a favorable cap situation. If they were willing, I guess, to trade to maybe some picks, that would probably get it done for Watson. I'm not going to really speculate beyond that just because we don't really have many facts other than the fact that he is upset. So I'll keep you appraised to all that info that'll be coming out. But for now, we're going to jump into our San Francisco free agents. So there were 8 notable free agents that I noticed coming into 2021. And I'll read them off for you. They are Tevin Coleman, Kendrick Bourne, Jerick McKinnon, Jordan Reed, Ross Dwelley, Nick Mullins, Jeff Wilson, and JaMychal Hasty. So all 8 of those should be on people's radar. They're all rosterable players. I'm not going to talk about all of them today, but we're going to talk about a few. The first one's going to be Tevin Coleman. So Coleman, he is an unrestricted free agent. He's 27 years old. He just finished a 2-year, $4.25 million per year contract. So his contract, when it was signed, there was a lot of hope, as there is with every contract. But he just couldn't stay healthy, really, either season, but especially this last season. So he's had a lingering injury in 2020, kept his production down. I believe it was a knee injury, so it kind of re-aggravated it halfway through the season, and he was really unable to find the field much after that. So, like I said, he's an unrestricted free agent. Spach has his calculated market value at $3.3 million per year. And I tend to agree with that. I think he'll make somewhere around that number. So just keep an eye on him if you roster him, if you're thinking about trading for him. Up next, we have Kendrick Bourne. He is also an unrestricted free agent. He's 25 years old, finished a 1-year, $3.26 million per year contract. So he's talented. He's a talented possession receiver. I've always liked the talent. He just hasn't gotten the high volume that he needs, to emerge as a top weapon in Dynasty. And then also we have Ayuk and Samuel that have kind of come onto the scene past couple of years. That's kept his production down as well. So I predict that with Kittle coming back next year fully healthy, he'll be relegated to low volume once again. Might sign with the new team. If he does, he could jump in as wide receiver 2 for them. I would look for a contract around 2 years, $3 million per year. It's probably right about where he's going to be at. And then the 49ers running back situation, that's kind of messy, and I'll update you as contracts start to get signed later on in March. But I just wanted to leave you with a trivia question real quick here. So the trivia question is, Jerick McKinnon was the 7th running back drafted in the 2014 NFL Draft. Can you name the only running back that was drafted ahead of McKinnon that has had a successful career? So 6 running backs drafted ahead of him, and none of them, barring maybe one, could even be considered to have a successful career. So think about that. If you already read my article, you know the answer. But if you're listening to the video first, and go ahead and read the article, and you'll find the answer in there for you. So right now, we're going to go through some contract breakdowns. These are players that aren't on new contracts, but we're just going to break down what their contract means. And I'm going to open up my article and go through it here with you guys. So the first one is actually going to be a blind contract that I want to share with you. So the question, as always, is who would you rather own in Dynasty Owner? When we're breaking down a couple players here. So we got Alpha and Bravo. Alpha's a year younger, makes a little bit more. Obviously, 1 more year remaining on his contract, and the fantasy points are pretty close. So let's look through it. Very comparable players, as I said. They're both wide receivers, if you haven't guessed, based on their contracts. Alpha seems to have been a rookie last year, while it's safe to assume Bravo was a rookie in 2019. That's pretty obvious based on their age and years remaining. So let's look at their raw numbers in 2020, decide. everything looks pretty close except for the touchdowns and yards, and I guess yards per reception as well. But they had generally the same amount of receptions. Bravo had more targets, yards per reception, had about half the touchdowns. So those are kind of fluky. We're not really too concerned about that. So if we look at it, it's looking better for Alpha. However, the question still remains, who would you rather own? Obviously, you know that Bravo has one less year on his contract. So what if I told you this? Bravo missed one game last season. Well, it's looking better, except that Alpha missed 4 games. He missed the 4th of the season. So this is what their full 2020 seasons would have looked like had they been healthy with the same production. And you can see it gets quite a bit closer. Receptions go Alpha's way. Targets, yards are still a pretty big gap. And yards per reception obviously doesn't change because we're still dealing with averages. And total touchdowns gets even more skewed for Alpha. So still closer. I mean, it's up to you who you would take. I would probably take Bravo still, just for the high yardage. Expect the touchdowns to come up, but let me reveal who the player is here. So Alpha is actually Brandon Ayuk, if you can believe it. So Alpha is Brandon Ayuk, and Bravo is DJ Moore. So I prefer to own Moore, especially knowing who it is now. But it just goes to show how quietly dominant Ayuk was last season. And you can't really compare him to any of these 3 rookie wide receivers that I mentioned, but he is still a value for what he brings, and hopefully his sophomore bump that he takes will outweigh George Kittle's return, with the less volume that he should get. And then I'd give you an example of what I would be willing to pay for him if I wanted to trade for him. I'd pay a high 2021 second for him. That's probably about as high as I would go. You could probably get into the end of the first, but I don't know. It's quite a bit to pay for a rookie, especially if you need running backs this year or next year in the next draft. So up next, we're going to look at George Kittle and his contract. So George Kittle's 27 years old. He was set to be a free agent. He finished a 4-year, $700,000 per year contract. As we know, he signed a massive 5-year, $75 million contract in August of 2020. That puts him at the highest paid tight end in the NFL. So we know that Kittle missed half of his games last season. He missed 8 games. So let's assume he would have played every game over his last 2 seasons and assume that his fantasy production would have been relatively the same. This is what his stats would have looked like. And you can see how amazingly close they are to each other. It just goes to show how consistent he's been over the past couple of years. And there's no reason to expect that would change in 2021. But what if we look at his fantasy points per game and fantasy points per dynasty dollar and how they rank against other tight ends? And we see there's really no comparison. Kittle, as long as he's got that salary, 2021 salary right here, he's never going to be able to compete with Darren Waller or really any tight end at all. Hooper, I mean, he's an outlier because he got paid a lot and he didn't have hardly any production this year. He was unownable, really. So it just goes to show, how kind of skewed, especially tight ends and tight end money is. And the one good example I'll leave you with, I gave it at the end of this article, was, of course, salaries always need to be considered because we're playing Dynasty Owner, but owners need to understand that $15 million for Kittle is not even close to comparable for $16 million for Thielen. I like Thielen. I think he's good. He's probably going to be good for the next couple of years, but the value you're getting for Kittle at $15 million is astronomically more than you're getting for Thielen at $16 million. And then, I say right here, the top producing tight end will always be the greater value with similar size contract. That's a good takeaway from this article, especially when, we're talking about Kittle. So that's all that I have for you today. Hope you liked the video. Make sure you tune in next week and tune in to see all 4 of our videos and articles. You can follow them at Dynasty Owner, and then obviously follow us on Twitter, Dynasty Owner, and you can see my name down there at the bottom, Matt the Jerk, at Dynasty Jerk on Twitter. I appreciate it, guys, and I hope you all take care.